some. Obviously, thank you to the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame, to my good friend Doug, to Lisa, who has gone above and beyond all things to make sure we are so comfortable this weekend, and of course to the sports writers. I believe, Dan, you told me Scooter Hobbs was the one that nominated me?
Right here.
I love you, buddy. I love you. I thought I had a lot in common with my Acadiana boys here, and I say that fondly. I'm the girl from Broussard, the boy from Breaux Bridge, and the boy from Carencro, but Jake's the one that left, although Kevin did too. Jake's the one that left that had the accent like me and talked like that, but all of a sudden Jake doesn't talk like that anymore. Did you notice that? Jake is so eloquent. But my mother was from Breaux Bridge, but anyway, that's the gist of being with the Acadiana group. I was so proud when I heard who I was going in with, because I had such a allegiance and a connection to the two guys. But now I realize that the coaches, we all kind of share that bond, and we all kind of share those stories. Coach Washington, I can relate to that story about the guy jumping in the neutral zone. One of my first years coaching, and it was at USL, so this is a college program. The pitcher had walked 2 batters in a row, couldn't find the plate, and I called timeout, I walk up to my hitter, and I said, I want you to take the next pitch. Pitcher throws the pitch, she swings. So I called timeout again and said, what are you doing? Well, you told me to take it. So I swung. So I realized how far I had to go to bring this program around. So, we all have those stories. But, for a little girl that never got to play, I'm a pre-Title IX girl. All I ever wanted to do was play. So to walk into this magnificent Hall of Fame is, beyond my expectations. Why am I the only one crying? Probably because I'm the only woman up here. So that really makes it special too, because I didn't get to play, and it looks like God wanted me to succeed in another avenue, and I became a coach. But what's really cool? I'm the only woman up here too. So to all of us female athletes, to the coaches that had to beg and borrow and yes, steal sometimes to get women's sports off of the ground, this is for all of us who had to fight so hard, for the women who now play in $13 million stadiums, and every pitch of the College World Series is on ESPN. So I accept this award for all of those people.
Let's talk about the early years at USL. When you weren't just the coach, you were also working in the family business.
Yeah, I got a call, and First of all, I was a teacher for 4 years and a softball coach. I started my career at Lafayette High. In the parish, they had just started fast pitch softball. I forget to mention that I never played the game. I never played fast pitch softball. We never had it. I played softball when I was 18 years old on a very good travel softball team, but my dad was a huge baseball man, and we spent every summer of our lives in Houston watching the Colt 45s and then the Astros. So I just modeled my career after that. But USL approached me, and I think it was November, and said they wanted to start a softball program, and that we would start playing in February. We had no scholarships. We had really no budget. We had no place to play. We had no schedule. We had no team. And I said, and we're supposed to win? And the answer was yes. And that first year, we played in 5 different city parks. Coach didn't even know where we were playing until the day before. My mom made the first uniforms. It was pretty incredible. And then I said I wasn't going to coach anymore. And my mom, we have a restaurant in the town of Broussard, and she was really a self-made woman, and she said, no way. She said, you were never made to deal with the public selling hamburgers and flipping burgers. You're going back outside and coaching this team. But I did both for 10 years. I worked at our restaurant and I coached at USL and went back and forth twice a day. I'd get phone calls at our restaurant and, you know, it would be tons, may we help you? And they'd say, I'm the softball coach at South Carolina and I'm looking for Yvette Girouard. Do I have the right number? So after 10 years, I was finally made full-time at the university and, you know, paid that grand $25,000 a year, you know, so it's come a long way.
You got the what was it like getting the program to Oklahoma City the first time, knowing that you're there?
Well, we'd lost it. You know, we finally made it where the program was getting so much recognition. Stephanie Lotief, who is was the softball coach at UL, and her husband is the head now, but she was my first All-American, and she kind of got us over the hump. But the young lady that's going to introduce me is the one I said that made me famous, Kyla Hall-Hollis, who is in the hall and will introduce me on Saturday night, really is the person, the player that got us over the hump and got us there. We won in Michigan. We had, you know, I kissed the ground when we got to Oklahoma City because, you know, that's everybody's dream is to get to the College World Series. So it was pretty cool. Mike Hess, our grounds guy, who's a very good friend, came on the trip and actually brought dirt from Lady Cajun Park. And when each player ran out to their position in the first game, they threw dirt out at their position to remind them that, you know, this is home too. And the Michigan people were like, what's going on? Why are they throwing this dirt? Is this a voodoo thing? Is this some kind of witch thing, witchcraft? And we didn't tell them what was going on until we won. We beat Michigan to get to the College World Series.
Since you didn't grow up playing the game, what would you feel was your best attribute to be successful with players?
I have no idea. I played high school volleyball. That's all we had. It was the first time I ever played anything, you know, collectively. And then I played volleyball at USL. There were no scholarships. Put the gas in the car, everything. You've heard all the stories. We did it. I think my work ethic. After I figured out I kind of really liked it, I just didn't take no for an answer. I tried to figure out how to make it a yes. And I didn't let money or budget or anything get in the way.
Coach, obviously with getting into it like you did, there weren't a lot of role models around and people you talked about referencing using baseball as something to kind of springboard off of. Who were your go-tos in those early years? I know you made some friends along the way. Who were some influences and some people who helped you along? Really,
I guess athletic-wise, Margaret Romero, who was a assistant under Coach Gunner, and unfortunately is in hospice right now. But she was my slow-pitch softball coach, and I think she was the first person really who taught me how to be a kind of a pretty good coach. But as far as everything that I hold near and dear and what I think made me who I am, I think it was my mother. But, you know, because I just had to look up, as you said, it was a lot of male role models. And, you know, I think that's what I'm so proud of today is that little girls don't have to look up to little boys anymore. They can look up to Jenny Finch and they can look up to, you know, all of the young women that you see on TV now.
Talk about crossing the basin. You had two opportunities to do it, didn't do it. You made that decision. You're reflecting on it now. What has it meant to you?
It was the hardest decision of my life. But in fact, we had a party for me the night before. My mom did it, and I walked out of the room. I couldn't even swallow, so because I was going to be introduced the next day at LSU. But you know, I had been at ULL for 20 years. I'd started it from the ground. It was my baby. It was my passion. I didn't take a vacation for 11 years. You know, I was addicted. I was addicted to trying to make it grow and get better and better. And But then it came to a point where it was finally time to take care of Yvette. And it was all about professionally and personally. But it was the best decision I ever made because it made me change, it made me grow, made me get out of my little cocoon. And I couldn't have been treated better by the people at LSU.
Yvette Girouard?
You talked about that first group, those early players. How special is it now to see them, not just what they've become, but what they've meant to you?
Well, I think a lot of them are going to be here, and I think they're going to party all weekend. I talk about made a lot of mistakes in those early years, but we all grew up together. When you think about it, I was, 23, 24, and they were 18, 19. There wasn't that big gap between us, but, the climb, the rise to the top was so much more fun than when I got there because we all didn't kind of know what we were doing, but, they were local girls. We didn't have a lot of scholarships. We tell so many stories. As one in particular, I just remembered the other day, I went down to Motor Pool to pick up our vans that were supposed to be reserved, and they weren't there. And at the time in Lafayette, there wasn't a lot of car rental places, and the only one that had 2 vehicles available was called Rent a Wreck. I went down there and had to get 2 Rent-A-Wreck station wagons that had that old wood paneling, on it, with the roll-down windows and everything else. And I was horrified because I thought, they're going to kill me. We have to go to Monroe, we have to go to Tech for the weekend, and they're going to be so embarrassed getting in these vehicles. They thought it was a blast. They had so much fun, and kind of points out, I think, the differences in those athletes and today's athletes where, no way in hell they'd go in those cars.
Yvette Marie?
Thank you.